Hi, Stitchers. Welcome to Tatreez Talk, where we share conversations about Palestinian embroidery. I'm Lena, here with my co-host Amani, chatting with talented embroiderers and artists, sharing their stories, inspirations, and the cultural significance behind their work.
On today's episode, we are chatting with Halima, the artist and designer behind the Instagram account, Palestinian Artist. Halima, we are so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Tatreez Talk.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. And we'll talk about this in a bit, but I'm a big fan of Halima's work. I've commissioned a few pieces from her, and I've actually seen your pieces at the Palestine Museum in Connecticut in person as well.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
those are really, really beautiful and powerful to see in person. But before we get into all of the good stuff, Halima, would you mind sharing with our listeners a little bit about you and your family's connection to Palestine?
Yeah, I am half from Gaza, half from Tulkarem, but I was born here in Germany. Yeah, I was born in Germany, and then we, as a child, we moved to Gaza, and I lived there for a few years, and then we had to go back to Germany because of the life conditions, and yeah, we also used to visit the West Bank and Tulkarem. So I kind of had the chance, thankfully, to connect with yeah, both sides of my family, my father's side and my mother's side.
What age were you when you moved back to Gaza? Like, what ages were you
It,
living there
I think it
too?
was like at the age of 3 or 4, and then I
That's
was like here in
amazing.
kindergarten and there in kindergarten, and then and also in primary school here and there. So I've had the to experience both, and
Hmm.
yeah, and then with I don't know, we lived there 3 or 4 years, and then we moved back to Germany. But actually, our plan was to live like the rest of our lives in Palestine. But
Hmm.
yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't yeah, possible because of the life conditions and because of the war in 2008.
Hmm.
Um, that's also the time where we moved back to Germany, and yeah.
And what is it like being a Palestinian in Germany? I know that I've had friends who have been to some of the protests, and I mean, it's not necessarily the most welcoming of Palestinian
Yeah,
identity, I guess, in Germany.
yeah, unfortunately, they always take as an excuse the history, but they always say we don't want to repeat what happened, but they actually repeat what happened. I would say it's not really, you don't have really the freedom of speech anymore, and it's getting aggressive while, speaking up or being on demonstrations. Yeah, it's not really peacefully as it should be, and that's actually pretty sad. Yeah.
And were you able to grow up when, like, you're in Berlin, right?
And no, in Dortmund, North
Oh, okay.
Rhine-Westphalia. Yeah.
Okay, just kidding. I don't know why I
But
thought Berlin.
no, I
But
gave a workshop in Berlin. That's why many people think in Berlin,
that's
but
probably
no.
why.
Yeah.
But were you able to grow up like amongst a Palestinian diaspora community in Germany?
Yeah. Well, we don't have a lot of Palestinians here.
Mm.
I think the most of them in Germany, I think they might be in Berlin. That's what I felt like. I saw a lot of Palestinians there, and it was amazing to connect with them and also to be able to give a workshop there. And um, yeah, but they're also here where I live. There are also Palestinians, but not that much. I think like you are from the US, right?
Mhm.
I think I, I feel like there is the most like most Palestinians in the US, I guess.
Well, so maybe we jump into a little bit about Tatreez. Halim would love to learn about how you got introduced to Tatreez. How did you start practicing? And kind of what inspired, you to implement Tatreez in your artwork.
Yeah. Well, I actually grew up with Tatreez, always seeing it on my grandma, Halima, Allah yarhamha. And
Mhm.
yeah, and I always saw it, saw her wearing a tobe like full of Tatreez, and yeah, I always saw it on her, but never really get to know a lot about it. And while growing up, I actually started doing art, and then I don't know exactly how it started, but I saw like pictures from family members and saw the Tatreez and the twabs, and um, I started also painting about it. I had like a series from different cities in Palestine. I don't know if you saw it, but like from Gaza, from Nablus, like every city in Palestine, where I found the different the pattern from the city. I did a painting and painted them like from each city, because before I think 1948, from each city in Palestine, the Tatreez patterns were different, and it was important to me also to show that, and to show like how it used to be and how it is now. Um, so I actually started to do lots of paintings actually, and then started also to learn it a year ago, I guess, through my mom. Um, and yeah, it's not that easy, but I'm still learning, but I'm getting better. Trying to mix it with my art, not like to separate them really, but kind of, to mix them together with my art. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I love how you've reflected the tatreez in your paintings. Was there a moment where you're like, maybe I should try tatreez, or
Yeah.
it just kind of happened naturally?
I think it happened naturally, and I think I also did like a mixed design Tatreez taupe from the Tul Karam and Gaza. And I thought like one day I have to do this taupe, because I just took the Tatreez patterns from these two cities, and I thought like I have to mix them together. So I did like some sketches and such stuff, but I didn't really finish them. And yeah, hopefully I will one day do a tour by myself to mix both of them.
You mentioned that you started learning about a year ago, like actually picking up a needle and thread and stitching. You started learning from your mom. So what's that
Yes,
experience been like, stitching with your mom?
I think it's special because I hear from many people who like do tatreez, they actually look up like a tutorial or anything on YouTube, which is actually also good. Like, but I think it's like more special to learn it from your mom or from your grandma. Um, and also why we are doing Tatreez. She's like telling me stories from back then, how they used to do it, and like they used to wear it on a daily basis. And yeah, it's definitely special
Mhm.
to learn it from my mom. Yeah.
What are some of the stories that your mom shares with you, has shared, well, I can't even speak now, has shared
Sure.
with you during your Tatreez sessions?
I don't know. I think um like she's from Tulkarem, and she told me like the dresses they were like different, or she told me of the colors of the dresses and the meaning of them, and like when and where they used to wear them. And yeah, like for example, there are specific colors on the dress that has a specific meaning if the person is married or not, or if you wear gold or silver, um, which symbolizes rich or poor. Like also I guess in other cultures. And yeah, she always used to tell me that my grandma and Tulkarem wore wear it on a daily basis, and it was like a part of them. And now it's like wearing them on occasions, and yeah, show that we are Palestinians.
And actually, you're making me think of like I'm wondering if this has changed kind of your relationship with tatreez. Like, are you finding yourself wearing a thwab more often to different events? Like, what is the rest of kind of your relationship with tatreez aside from practice and then painting it as well? Do you find anything happening with that?
I actually used to wear lots of twabs before because I loved it, and I think that's also a reason why I started doing tatreez, because I always wore them, but I didn't really did like
Yeah.
tatreez, and it was important to me to learn it. And also for the future to give it to my children, like it should be like given from generation to generation, and not just wear them, but appreciate them, and to learn how to do tatreez and maybe create something ourselves like they did back then, because back then it wasn't like they did it and sold it, but they also like did it for themselves. And yeah, that was important to me.
And so maybe we like also talk a little bit about your art journey. How did you begin painting? What did that look like? Where do you draw inspiration? What does your art process look like?
Um, well, it's like it varies. Sometimes I just start painting, and it's kind of like a therapy, and I start painting, and at the end it becomes something. But yeah, sometimes I also do like sketches and think of like several things, or people, or like my homeland Palestine, the beautiful things, but also like the occupation, and yeah, try to represent our homeland, but also like what's happening there. And yeah, do many sketches and put it like on a canvas to express myself, and to also represent my people through my art.
Do you feel like, especially in the last year since the start of the latest genocide in Gaza, that you've turned to your art more? And I'm curious to also understand if your art has changed in the last year because of
Yeah,
everything.
I would say it changed also, like the color palette changed, which is
Mm.
sad. Like I actually used to use eye-catching colors, vivid colors, and then when it happened, I don't know, like um I felt very down, very sad, but at the same time I thought like I have to be strong for them, and the only thing I can do is like praying for them, doing art and sharing what's happening there. But yeah, my color palette changes, and into like more sad and dark colors. And yeah, I would say like I did like more digital art. If uh, I make like both traditional and digital art, but like um yeah, I did like more digital art lately. Yeah.
And so I know you also mentioned the fact that you have been teaching Tatreez classes. How did
Yeah.
that come about?
It was from like some students asked me if I would give a Tatreez workshop, because I actually a while ago I graduated, and my topic for my thesis, I took Palestinian clothes, and I named the book Empowerment, Women Empowerment Through Traditional Clothing, and of course picked the topic Palestinian clothes. Looked, researched, and a lot about the history and how the clothes used to be back then and how it is now, and the meaning behind it. But also I um, chose to represent the men clothes, even though they're not much known as a women clothes, because I also thought, like, I noticed that no one is really showing or talking so much about men clothes. Um, but I also like did that, and many people saw that on social media, and then asked me to do a workshop for them. We had like a Palestine camp, so that was like my first Tatreez workshop, where not only like teach them how to do Tatreez, but also like talk about the history, where it comes
Yeah,
from, and yeah, the meaning behind it and everything, because it's part of it, and it's important to talk about that. Yeah.
completely
It's
agree.
yeah, and it's interesting. I also don't know much about men's clothing
I
in
was
like the
gonna
Yeah.
say, yeah.
Yeah, I've
uh
noticed like no one, I've never seen it, and I thought like I don't know who I talked with my dad about that, but like it was like also for me important to talk about that and to put it in my thesis because it's not like only Palestinian women clothing. I think um Palestinian Palestinian clothing for women are like more, you have more to talk about because of the Tatreez patterns and everything, which is actually not on men's clothing. Not as much as on men's clothing, but yeah, I don't know. Um, it's actually also kind of important to talk about their clothing, I think.
What can
And
Yeah.
you
also
share
that
with
they
us?
supported and also that they supported the women. I saw a video, also like my mom used to tell me like back then, um, when the women at home did like tatreez, also the men after the work they used to help the woman, and if she had like to take care of the children, something like that, they helped them with the dress. Um, yeah, they were also part of it.
So, what could you share with us about a little bit more about men's traditional Palestinian men's clothing that people might not have known before?
um, like what they wear, or like I think it's what you actually see, like the jalabiya and kufiya most of the time, and there's like I forgot the names now, but like a jacket and sometimes like the surwal, but which the pants. But I think women also wear them. Um, and there were also like specific leather shoes they wear. Um, also like on specific occasions, like a wedding or something like that. And Dabka was also important part of that. And yes.
Did the men in your family wear some of these clothing, or is this something kind of the past, you know? Because I don't know anyone in my family, for example, who has these more traditional outfits. Like my cousin, I think maybe wore it on his wedding, but he had gotten it custom made, and none of us really knew like, what the pieces were called or when you wear them or how you wear them.
Yeah.
Is this something that you were exposed to growing up?
Not really, actually. I haven't really found like pictures or something like that. So I didn't really like notice anything specific like from the men's clothing on the pictures I used to see, like from pictures back then. But like I said, I think I talked with my Baba about that, and also when we used to be in Palestine in 2022. Um, we used to buy twabs and everything, and I also men's clothing, and it was also inspiring. And I thought like I should also include that in the book.
The book meaning like your thesis or something
Yes,
else?
it's like
Okay.
it's the thesis, and it's also, I don't know if you saw it. I have it here, this book. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and that was another book. Like it was like two books, a thesis and this one.
And is this book something that you published or?
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
I wanted to do that, but I'm still working on that.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
thought like
awesome.
maybe still editing some stuff because I'm sometimes paying attention, and I wanted to be perfect. So I thought maybe like on editing some stuff, and yeah.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, so what are you up to these days, Halima? What are you working on at Tatreez, arts, Palestine related?
Well, I'm continuing to give workshops, like the last one in Berlin, and I also had a workshop in Cologne, um, and also having one the coming week. So I'm actually doing Tatreez workshops everywhere I can, because in Germany I've noticed it's not that much like in the US. I'm like every time I see it, like on the videos you share, it's so pretty, and like I feel like it's more vivid there. And here it's actually starting now. Yeah. And yeah, also try to work on some artworks, um, like things that remind me of Gaza, like my childhood in Gaza, and try to create artworks from that and see where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you mentioned earlier that there's not too large of a Palestinian community. Who's mostly coming to your Tatreez workshop? Is it Germans or is it like Arabs in those different cities?
Yeah, I would even say like I just have like one or two Palestinians,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
rest is actually like from everywhere. Like there were Germans, Turkish people, Moroccan. Yeah, it was like different nationalities, I would say, but like less one or two Palestinians.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I think it's also important to show that it's not only for Palestinians, but like for everyone. And it's I don't think like it's a bad thing if they're more like not Palestinians in there, because I tell them like more about the Tatreez and the history, because actually they also are the ones who don't really know about that. Like
Mhm.
some would relate it to other nationalities, these when they see the clothes, um, and don't know the meaning about that. And after I've noticed like after they learned about it, they were really like grateful about it, and they also really loved it and thought like they would do it and continue do it at home. But it's like in the US, is it more of a Palestinian community or also mixed?
I
I feel
mean,
like it's mixed.
yeah, I think it's mixed.
Ah, okay.
I think it depends too. I've had some workshops that are only Palestinian, and then I've had some workshops where it's like
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
Euro Palestinians too. So it depends on the crowd and kind of the audience, but um, yeah, it's interesting to see the differences in how people practice Tatreez, like depending
Yeah.
on their background. I find that Palestinians in my classes, um, there's like a really special connection that happens for them when they learn Tatreez. It's kind of like they're, able to connect to Palestine in a different way. And then especially when there are multiple Palestinians, a lot of them will start talking to each other about like, where is your family from? And
Yeah, yeah.
who's your teta and who's so and so and are we related? Half the time we're all probably related.
Yes.
And
I've literally had cousins find each other
yeah.
in my Tetris, like our community
Really?
Tetris
Yeah.
circles, and like,
Wow.
oh wait, we are definitely related.
You bring people together.
It's very
Yeah.
Palestinian.
Yes.
It's very Palestinian.
But I think like it's really beautiful, not like it's very beautiful to get people together to get to know each other. And even though like it's mixed, I think maybe it's like more beautiful, because
Hmm.
I've also noticed I've had like one Turkish girl, and she talked about the Turkish traditional clothing, and that there are like similar things, and that for example like they also do like tatris but like other patterns, and she got used to it very fast, so she didn't have any problem because they also do it in their
Yeah.
clothing. Yeah, that was also very special to learn
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, we're all actually so much more connected than we realize.
Yeah.
And Tatreez is a really easy way to bring out those connections, I think. Non-Palestinian and Palestinian, alike. So that's really cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So if you had to name one or two things on in terms of what you've learned from Tatreez, are there any like, major life lessons that you've learned?
um Maybe the first thing I would say, maybe patience, because
Yeah.
yeah, because when you start learning Tatreez, patience is really important, and to not pay attention to do it perfectly, but maybe to pay more attention to the process, and um, to what I want to create at the end, and to not just value the outcome, but also like value the process while doing that. And also, I would say that we know that every stitch tells a story, and to um, make or to mix it with your own art, and to you know show it to other people and show what's behind it and what it means. And I think in general through Tatreez to bring people together and to give it like to the other generations, and yeah, and
And
to also allow mistakes, which is really
yeah.
important.
Well,
Allow mistakes.
I wanted to
Yeah.
ask also, like, how does it compare to your painting? Like, do you feel that you've learned the same things from painting, or is the patience a little bit different with Tatreez?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think also while painting, patience is also really important. That's um, what painting and Tatreez would have similar in common. And yeah, I think in both I would say you need patience. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Halima, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure hearing about your Tatreez journey. Where can everyone find you, get in touch? Are you still taking on commissioned pieces? Tell
Yeah.
people where they can find you.
Yes, I'm still. You can commission artworks like you did,
Yeah.
and also on social media, Instagram, Palestinian artist. I have also a Facebook account, but I'm not really active on that. I have shop um, Palestinian artist, which is also called Palestinian artist, and yeah, I sell my prints and tote bags, postcards, and such stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. We'll make sure to have all the links in our show notes. But thank you again, Halima, for joining us. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you, and it was nice to talk to you. And I wanted to tell you that you do a really great job and that you are an inspiration to me, and I think also to many other people. So thank you.
Thank you.
So
Likewise.
sweet.
This is good
Yeah.
company. Good company. So I got Halima's like paintings commissioned a few years ago, and I had them on my wall, and I love them. And what I loved about working with her is that she made it super customized. I remember talking to her and telling her, I really like, the concept of a painting. I want something with Tatreez. I want something to represent both my identities, Palestinian and Panamanian. And she did the research on like Panamanian dresses, and she had some proposals on how to like, create the paintings. And sometimes it's hard to find people who are willing to be like I want her to be creative, but then I also want her to hear what I'm looking for. And
Mhm.
I thought that was a really lovely experience. And I really think everyone should customize or, commission artwork because it's such a pleasure to see, this come to life and just see an artist and what they do best. So I'm glad that we got to speak with her and hear a little bit more about her family history, her Tatreez journey. And I have been noticing her doing a lot more Tatreez circles and workshops in Germany, which I love. And she has such a beautiful eye. So when she documents those experiences, they're really, really quite beautiful.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in Germany, I don't know how many people listen to us from Germany. We'll have to look at that. But if you're in Germany, you should definitely connect with Halima and, help build like a Tatreez community out there. I think we talked about it kind of at the start with her, but I know it's not necessarily easy to be Palestinian in certain countries, and it seems like Germany is one of those countries, unfortunately. So being in community with Palestinians and non-Palestinian allies is always like a comforting space. And so
Mm.
I love that it sounds like also she's kind of like going around Germany and teaching classes in different cities. So be really nice to see what comes of that community in like the next year or so. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of Tatreez Talk. Of course, as always, we want to hear about your Tatreez journeys. Send your stories directly to us at tatreeztalk@gmail.com, and we might have you on an upcoming episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite listening platform and be sure to leave a 5-star review. You could follow me at Min Amani and Lena at Lena Stob, and of course, follow the pod at Tatreez Talk.